In response to COVID-19, PSP is offering telefitness to Canadian Armed Forces members. By using social media platforms, the telefitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Prior to participating in this session and to make an informed decision on whether you should seek advice from a qualified exercise professional or healthcare provider, consult the Get Active Questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document by clicking on the links below. By continuing this telefitness class, you understand that there is a possibility of physical injury and you agree that you do so voluntarily at your own risk. You also assume all risk of injury and agree to release the Canadian Armed Forces Morale and Welfare Services from any and all claims related to your participation in this telefitness class. For today's class, you will need a flat surface with space to move, a yoga mat if you have one, a yoga block or something similar, a water bottle or a running shoe will do, a water bottle, and music to play during the session. Hi everybody, welcome to Flexibility and Mobility Fusion. My name is Katie Kennedy and I'm a fitness and sports instructor at CFB Petawawa. Today's session is a full body yoga flow class with an emphasis on full body mobility. This yoga class does not include any background music, so if you have a favorite yoga playlist you'd like to play, you can press play now. Once you're ready to start the class, you can begin by laying flat on your back on your mat with your legs and your feet out wide and your arms about 45 degrees from your body with your palms facing up. We're going to start by just bringing attention to our breath. Slowly inhaling and exhaling through the nose. And then you can start by closing your eyes, maybe making some last adjustments before coming into this pose. Every time you exhale, let your body feel heavy. And do a quick scan of your body to see if you're holding on to any tension anywhere. And if you are, maybe just quickly tensing up that muscle and relaxing it and letting it sink into the floor. With every inhale, bringing your stomach up towards the ceiling, and every exhale, letting it fall to the floor. Trying to intentionally slow your breath down. And if you have a hard time doing that, you can count your breaths out. So inhale for a count of 4, hold at the top for a count of 1 to 2, and as you exhale, exhale for a count of 4, and hold at the bottom for a count of 2. And then slowly bringing that breath back to normal and just letting it flow how it will. You can slowly start to bring attention back to the body. So making any little adjustments, maybe wiggling your toes and your fingers, and then making those movements a little bit larger by rotating your wrists and your ankles, maybe in a circle. Then we're going to walk the legs together. Interlace your fingers and bring them behind your head. Palms facing out. We're going to inhale
Reach the body as long as we can. And as you exhale, sigh it out and let it go. We'll go one more time. Inhale, reach the body as long as you can. Keep holding. And on your next exhale, let it go. Keeping your arms overhead, we're going to walk the arms to the right and walk your legs to the right. We're going to grab onto the left wrist with the right hand. Option to stay here, or you can cross your left ankle over your right for a bit more of a stretch. In this pose, we're trying to keep the left shoulder down. So if you have to do kind of less of a curve in the body, just to get your shoulder down, you can back off just a little bit. Every time we inhale, feeling a stretch up the left side of the body. And then as you exhale, see if you can sink a little bit deeper into the pose. Again, focusing on nice, even, and slow and controlled breaths. Inhale here, and as you exhale, coming out of the pose, we're going to walk the arms and the legs towards the other side. This time, grabbing onto the right wrist with the left hand, and you have the option to cross your right foot over your left ankle. Again, keeping that right shoulder on the ground. Backing out of the stretch a little bit if you need to get that shoulder on the ground. Inhale to the long stretch up the right side, and exhale to sink a little bit deeper into the stretch if you can. Uncross the ankles, and on your next exhale, coming back towards the center, drawing both knees in towards the chest, and give them a bit of a hug. You can rock side to side, massaging out your lower back. We're going to grab onto the back of the right knee, and we're going to extend out your left leg towards the ceiling. Drawing your right knee in towards your chest, elbows are heavy. We're going to slowly as possibly drop that left leg onto the ground. As slow as you can, letting it come down to the mat. Foot is flexed, so your toes are in the ceiling, towards the ceiling on both legs. We're just going to inhale, and as you exhale, sink that right knee a little bit closer towards the chest. Shoulders and arms are heavy, relaxing on the mat. And as the foot is flexed on the leg that's extended, you can start to feel some heat building in that left leg. All the muscles are contracted. That leg should feel strong. If you find that you have a curve in your lower back, try to contract your lower abs by bringing your hips under and creating less of a space in your low back. Starting to turn the core on a little bit. Inhale here, you can bring the left leg back in towards the center. Hands come behind the left leg this time, straightening the right leg. Foot is flexed, toes are pointed on both feet. Inhale here, and as you exhale, as slow as possible, dropping that right leg down. Again, turning on the core here, making sure our low back isn't rounding out too much. Foot is still flexed on both feet, turning on the muscles on the right leg. Every time we exhale, drawing that left knee in towards the chest. One last inhale here, staying for the exhale, and then drawing that right leg back up towards the center, rocking out side to side, and then we're just going to drop the feet towards the mat, and then your feet are going to come out wide, so just your big toes are on the mat. Arms can come out into a T shape. You're going to inhale here, and as you exhale, drop your legs to the left. Inhale back to center. Exhale, drop them towards the right. Just working through a few more times on your own. Every time you inhale, legs come up, and as you exhale, drop them to the side. We'll go one more per side. And then the next time your legs are back up, your knees are towards the ceiling, just gonna draw the knees in, give them a hug. And we're gonna slowly start to rock up and down the length of the mat a couple times until you can rock yourself forward into a tabletop position. So hands are under the shoulders, knees are under the hips, your spine is neutral. You're looking out just in front of your fingertips to keep your neck neutral as well. Lower abs are tight. We're going to walk the left hand so it's in towards the center. We're going to inhale, bring the right arm up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, thread it under your left. So your right ear and right shoulder come down towards the mat. Inhale, right arm comes up. Exhale, thread it under. Inhale, right arm up. Exhale, right hand down to the mat in towards the center. We'll go on the left side. Inhale, left arm up, stacking the shoulders. Exhale, left ear, left shoulder come down. Inhale, left arm up. Exhale, thread it under. Inhale, left arm up again. Exhale, left hand down to the mat. Recentering the hands. So hands are under the shoulders, knees under the hips. We're going to run through a couple of cat-cows. So toes are tucked under. We're going to start by tucking your tailbone under and then rounding out one vertebrae at a time, pressing through the shoulders, tucking the chin comes last. Good, and then start again by rounding out the tailbone. One vertebrae at a time, we sink the stomach towards the floor. Chest reaches forward, gaze comes up. Tuck the tailbone under, rounding out through the back. Shoulder blades towards the ceiling, pressing through the hands, tucking the chin under, looking towards your belly button. Tilting the hips back and up. Rounding out through the spine, stomach falls to the floor, chest comes forward, gaze comes up. So just work through a couple on your own, as slow as controlled as possible. And if you'd like, you can start to connect your breath. go through one more cat-cow. Finishing, when you're in that cow pose, we're going to come back to a neutral spine. Recentering your hands and your knees if you'd like. Palms are connected to the mat. Fingertips are out wide, making sure your toes are tucked. We're going to inhale and lift the knees off the mat about 1 to 2 inches. Spine is neutral. You're pressing through the floor. Gaze is just above the fingertips to keep the neck neutral as well. And making sure we're not dipping through that low back. So think about tilting your hips under, turning on your lower abs. And we're just hovering here as controlled as we can and connecting with the breath. Last inhale, staying for the exhale. Dropping the knees back down to the mat. Toes come together, sitting back into child's pose. So reaching your fingertips forward, resting your forehead to the mat. Slowing the breath here. One more breath cycle. So inhale and then exhale. Shifting the hips up. Back into that tabletop position. We're going to go again. So pressing through the hands, fingertips out wide, toes are tucked, lower abs are tucked under, spine is neutral. Pressing up through the hands and the tops of the toes, lifting those knees up 1 to 2 inches. And we're going to hover. Paying attention to the breath. Starting that heat, feeling that heat start to build in the abs and the shoulders, in the hands, maybe the legs as well. 2 more breaths. Inhale, staying for the exhale. Inhale again, and as we exhale, setting the hips up and back into downward facing dog. So readjusting here in your first downward dog. Noticing where the body is telling you it needs the most attention. Maybe just swaying the hips side to side, pedaling out the feet. And then making those movements smaller until we come back to stillness. Shoulder blades are wide. You're shining your armpits kind of towards the back of the room. Hips are up and back, looking slightly just to your belly button. Gonna bend the knees, coming up higher on the toes. We're gonna walk the feet towards the hands till our feet are kind of between the hands or as best as they can. We're gonna inhale to a flat back. Maybe hands come to the shins or the knees. As we exhale, we're gonna come into a forward fold. Let the head, neck, and the shoulders hang. You're gonna grab onto opposite elbows and sway side to side. Just to let the body relax. Let the neck and the head relax. Coming back to stillness, release the elbows. And then as you inhale, we're gonna start coming back up to standing, rolling up the spine. Chin is tucked, coming back up to standing. Arms are gonna come overhead. Look towards your fingertips. Exhale, arms come down. Inhale, arms come up. Look towards your fingertips. Exhale, flat back into a forward fold. Give yourself a bit of a squeeze in this forward fold. Gonna inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands. We're gonna step back into a plank. Spinning 1 to 2 breaths in our plank, pressing the floor away, shoulder blades towards the ceiling, tucking your hips under, spine is neutral. Inhale here, and as you exhale, we'll do a reverse push-up all the way to the floor or to a hover position. Inhale, place the feet to the mat, press the upper body up to upward facing dog. Exhale, rounding out the hips towards the ceiling, coming to the tips of the toes, downward facing dog. Spending a few moments in our downward dog to catch our breath. One more breath cycle. So inhale, and then as you exhale, staying here. And again, we're going to come up to the tips of the toes, walking the toes forward to the top of the mat, right into a half lift on the inhale. Exhale, forward fold. And as we inhale, rounding out the back, coming back up to standing. Once you're standing, arms come up. Look towards the fingertips. Exhale, arms come down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands. Option here to step or hop to a plank. Full breath cycle here. Inhale, exhale. Inhale again, and as you exhale, lowering all the way down to a hover or to the mat. Untuck the toes, press the upper body up, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, hips towards the ceiling, rounding out over the toes, downward dog. Option this time to walk, hop, or step towards the top of the mat, right into a half lift. On your inhale, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rounding out the back to standing. Once the hips are over the knees, arms come up, looking overhead. Exhale, arms come down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, plant the hands, stepping back to a plank. Inhale here, and as you exhale, reverse push-up to hover or all the way down. Untuck the toes, press the upper body up, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Bend the knees, options to walk, step, or hop towards the top of the mat, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, roll yourself back up to standing, look towards the fingertips. Exhale, arms come down. This time, as we inhale, we're going to hinge at the hips, arms come back, and then we're going to flow the arms up overhead into a chair pose. So toes, if you feel a little bit more comfortable, your toes can come together, your heels can come apart. Reaching up through the fingertips, upper body as upright as possible, while keeping a bend in those knees. Inhale, reach a little bit higher. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come to a half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step or hop back to a plank. Inhale here, and as you exhale, lower yourself down to a hover. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, right leg comes up, and as you exhale, step between the hands. Back foot comes at about 45 degrees. Inhale, arms come up to warrior one. Inhale, reach your arms a little bit higher, and as you exhale, sink a little bit deeper. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, plant the hands, dragging that right foot back into a plank and then lowering yourself down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward dog. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, left leg comes up. Exhale, step it through between the hands. Right foot comes to 45. Inhale, arms come up. Inhale, reach a little bit higher, and as you exhale, sink a little bit deeper. Hips are facing forward. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, plant the hands, dragging that left foot back, flowing to downward facing dog. Taking a couple of breaths in your downward dog just to reset. Slight bend in the knees. Option to step, hop, or walk the feet forward into a half lift. Inhaling here, and as you exhale, coming into a forward fold. Inhale, arms come overhead, hips sink down, coming into chair pose. Inhale again, exhale, arms come down. Inhale, hinging at the hips, hips come back, arms forward, reaching overhead, and as they come overhead, we're sinking the hips down into chair pose. Readjusting the toes if needed, so bringing your big toes together, heels are slightly apart. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step, hop, or walk back to plank. Inhale here, and as you exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale, right leg comes up. As you exhale, step it between the hands, back foot 45 degrees. Inhale, arms come up. Inhale again, and as you exhale, plant the hands, bringing that right foot back, flowing to downward dog. Exhale in your downward dog. Inhale, left leg comes up. Exhale, plant it between the hands, back foot 45 degrees. Inhale, warrior one. Inhale to lengthen, exhale, plant the hands, dragging that front foot back, flowing to downward dog. Taking 2 breaths here. Last inhale, staying for your exhale. Bend the knees, step, hop, or float your way to a half lift on the inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms come overhead, sinking your hips back to chair pose. Inhale, stretch the body long, straightening the legs. Exhale, arms come down. Sinking the hips back, arms come overhead, chair pose. Inhale to lengthen, exhale, plant the hands, stepping or hopping back to a plank. Inhale here, and as you exhale, flow to your downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg comes up. And as you exhale, rounding out, coming onto the toes of your left foot, Bringing that knee in towards the chest. Squeeze it here, and then step it between the hands. From here, we're gonna stay up on the back toes. Inhale, reach high for a high lunge. Reach high, and as you exhale, we're gonna rotate the body open. So your back foot comes to a 90 degrees. Arms into a T shape for warrior two. Looking out over the front fingertips. Watching that front knee, making sure it's not tracking inwards. You want to make sure it's tracking out over the toes. There's a nice bend in that front leg. Inhale here, and as you exhale, you're gonna you're gonna flip your right palms up. Left arm's gonna come to the low back, or if that's not as comfortable for you, you can bring it down the left leg, making sure we're not putting too much pressure on the knee. And you're gonna scoop that right arm up and over. Again, legs are strong. Front knee is tracking out over those toes. Inhale here, and as you exhale, back to warrior two. Inhale again, and as you exhale, right arm comes down to the right leg, reaching that left arm forward. So the left part of your body is nice and long. And again, we're not putting too much pressure into that right arm. So if I was to move my right arm, I would still be able to keep my body where it is. So a lot of strength coming from the leg and the core as well. Inhale here, and as you exhale, coming back to warrior two. Inhale, all 10 toes come forward, high lunge. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, frame the front foot with your hands, dragging that right foot back. We're gonna flow back to downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg comes up. And as you exhale, bending that left knee, rolling out, keeping the left leg bent. We're hovering that leg just for a breath or two. Inhale, and as you exhale, plant the toes between the hands. Staying up on your toes on the back foot. We're gonna inhale, come to high lunge. And as you exhale, on your next exhale, opening the hips up to warrior two. So back foot comes to 90 degrees. Arms are strong and in a T shape. Looking out over your front fingertips. Left knee is strong. Inhale here, and as you exhale, flipping the left palm up towards the ceiling. Right arm can come to low back or just down the right leg. Rotating the left palm and arm back towards the back of the room. And wherever you are, careful that you're not dumping into your right hip. So you're turning on your core, and it's more of a voluntary movement rather than just sitting into the pose. Inhale, come back to warrior two. And as you exhale, left arm comes to left knee, bringing that arm down, the right arm down, and then towards the opposite side of the room. Again, a nice strong line of the right body. Making sure we're not dumping all of our weight into that left arm. So if we were to move it, your body would still stay there. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to warrior two. Inhale, flipping the back toes forward, high lunge. Lengthen the arms towards the ceiling, and as you exhale, plant the hands, scraping that left foot back. We'll flow to downward facing dog. Spending a couple of breaths in your downward dog here, kind of resetting. Gonna bend the knees, step, hop, or float your way back to a high lunge, or sorry, to a half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rolling yourself back up to standing. Exhale, arms come down. Hips back, arms towards the ceiling, toes together, heels apart, chair pose. Now, starting to transfer your weight into your left foot. So your left foot becomes strong. This is where you're going to need your block. So if you have your block close to you or you don't, just get it closer to you for the next few moments. So as the weight's coming into your left foot, we're going to stand up to tall with the right knee bent. So right knee is at 90 degrees, foot is flexed, toes are pointing towards the front of the room. Option to stay here, or if you want, point the toes and straighten that right leg. Turning on the core, strong through that left leg. If your foot is pointed, we're just going to come back to that 90-degree bend. Then we're going to start to rotate and hinge on our left hip, extending the right leg back towards the back of the room into warrior three. Arms are reaching forward. Option, if that's too much for your arms, you can bring them into an airplane. And try to focus on a point on the floor that's not moving, that's going to help you stay strong in this pose. And then we're going to bring our left hand down to the prop, any height of the prop you'd like. So if you want it higher or maybe lower, that's okay too. And kind of bringing it just to the outside of the left foot. And then we're going to start to rotate our right hip open and then stacking our shoulders and coming into a half moon. Shoulders are stacked, right toes and foot are flexed. And then if you want, slowly looking up towards the top fingertips. Connecting with the breath, slowing it down. Inhale here, and as you exhale, right arm comes down to the mat, and then you can drop the block just off to the side, and the left arm comes down to frame the left foot into a standing split. So we're engaging the hamstring and the glute, bringing the right leg up, maybe a slight bend in that left leg, and bringing the gaze down if you can. Inhale, bring that right leg a little bit higher, and as you exhale, bringing it down towards the back of the mat. Inhale to high lunge. Exhale, plant the hands, stepping that left leg back. We're going to flow to downward facing dog. Bring the knees out wide, toes come together, sitting back just momentarily, catching our breath, preparing to do the same thing on the other side. Inhale, shifting the hips back and up to downward facing dog. And as you exhale, step or hop towards the top of the mat, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, arms come back up. Knees are bent, toes together, heels slightly apart into chair pose. Starting to connect all 5 toes on the right foot, making sure They're nice and strong, building that foundation. Shifting the weight into the right foot. When you feel steady, you can stand up, bringing that left leg to bend at 90 degrees. Option to stay here, or if you feel steady or want a bit of a challenge, straightening the right toe or the left toes, pointing them towards the floor, and then straightening that left leg. Careful here not to lean back. We want to keep the shoulders stacked over the hips and the spine as neutral as you can. So turning on your abs. Hips are tucked under. If your foot is bent, if your leg is straight, bringing it back to a bend. And then when you feel ready, we're going to start to hinge on that right hip, kicking that left leg back to come to warrior 3. Again, if the arms or shoulders are tired, or if this just feels better for you, you can bring your arms back to airplane arms. One more breath here. Inhale, staying for the exhale. And then coming down to your block or your prop, whatever you have, bringing it outside the right foot just slightly. You're going to start to open that left hip, stacking it over the right, and stacking the shoulders to come into half moon. Again, if you'd like to look up to your left hand, you can. If you feel that your balance is there today. Inhale, strong body. Exhale, shifting the left hip down, left shoulder down towards the mat. We're going to frame that left foot. Left leg is strong. Hamstrings and glutes are engaged. Trying to walk those hands closer to that standing leg as best you can. Couple more breaths. Inhale here, and as you exhale, drop that left foot towards the back of the mat so you're on your left toes. Inhale, arms come up, high lunge. Exhale, plant the hands, stepping that right foot back, flowing to downward facing dog. Bending the knees, bringing them down towards the outer part of your mat. Toes come together, sitting your hips back to child's pose. Relaxing the forehead onto the mat. And then relaxing your arms as well. Connecting ourselves back to the breath. Then just slowly shifting the body forward. And then we're going to come into onto our backs. So lowering yourself down onto the mat, knees are bent. And then you should be able to reach forward and just touch the back of your heels. Hands are going to press into the floor. All 10 toes are connected with the mat. All fingertips are connected with the mat. Heels as well. We're going to start to press through your heels and engaging your hamstrings, your glutes, and your core, bringing your hips up towards the ceiling. Pressing your hands into the mat. Being careful that your knees aren't falling out wide. They should be tracking just over the toes. Spending a couple of breaths here. Last inhale, and as you exhale, coming onto your tiptoes, and then lowering your back down to the mat, one vertebrae at a time, with your hips connecting last. Good, we'll go a couple more times. So driving through the hips, pressing through the hands, engaging your glutes and your hamstrings, pressing your hips towards the ceiling. Chest is coming towards the chin. Getting those hips higher with every breath. Again, making sure your knees aren't falling out wide. Now from here, coming up onto your toes, lowering your back down to the mat as slow as you can, one vertebrae at a time, hips connecting last. Then we're gonna walk the toes out wide so they're out on the outer part of the mat. Arms into a T shape. We're gonna inhale, and as you exhale, just drop your knees to the left. Inhale, come back up. Exhale to the right. And working through a few more on your own. Once you're on the left side, and then we'll go to the right side one more time. And then once your legs are back in towards the center, we'll just walk the feet in so they're about hip distance apart again. We're gonna inhale, bring the right leg up so it's straight. And then as you exhale, you're gonna cross your your right foot on your left knee. Option to stay here, or if you want, you can reach through, grabbing onto the back of your left leg into figure 4. And then from here, we're going to inhale, straighten that left leg, and exhale, bend it back. Inhale to straighten. Exhale, bend. Go one more time. Straighten. An option to stay here, or you come back to the bent leg if you like. While we're in this pose, trying to keep your head, neck, and shoulders relaxed onto the mat. If you find that you're up like this, just relax and release the leg, bringing your shoulders and your neck back down. And if you can hold the pose like this, that's fine. Or you can bring that leg back down and just work towards bringing that left heel towards your glute a little bit more every time. Release the left leg, bringing your left foot down to the mat if it already wasn't. And then we're gonna bring the arms out to the side and cross your right leg over your left. And then we're gonna shift the hips to the right, walking the left foot over, and then just dropping the legs to the left. Option to stay here, or you can look out towards your right hand. Starting to slow the breath down. Bringing it back to a slow inhale through the nose and a slow exhale through the nose. Bringing your legs back up towards the center, undoing the twist, shifting your hips back towards the center. Knees are bent again, seeing if you can just touch your heels with your fingertips. Then we're gonna inhale, left leg comes up, and as you exhale, left ankle over top of the right thigh, knee area. Option to stay here, or as you exhale, bringing your legs in towards your body and then grabbing onto the back of the right leg. Left foot is flexed, so your toes are pointed towards the ceiling. And again, making sure we're relaxing our head, neck, and shoulders. So you have a couple of options. Again, if you find that you're up like this, just maybe releasing the leg and staying here, or you can bring that leg down to the mat. If you have your leg up, you can start to inhale, extend your right leg towards the ceiling. Exhale and bend. Inhale towards the ceiling. Exhale and bend. Last one, you have the option to stay with your leg extended. And then slowly releasing that right leg, bringing your right foot down to the mat, arms out to the sides in the shape of a T. Then we're going to cross that left leg all the way over your right. Shift your hips to the left, walking your right foot over to meet the hips. And then dropping your legs towards the right while you have the option to bring your gaze to the left over top of the left fingertips. You can slowly start to bring the legs back up towards the center. I'm doing your twist here. Bringing the hips back towards the center. And then bringing our body back into that beginning pose, that resting pose. Making any last minute adjustments you might need to make your body feel comfortable. Legs are out wide, feet fall to the outside, arms about 45 degrees from your body with your palms facing up. And then you can close your eyes. Slowly inhaling through the nose, expanding the stomach towards the ceiling. And as you exhale through the nose, letting your stomach fall towards the floor. We're going to do a quick scan of the body, just do a couple quick muscle relaxation techniques. So starting with the toes, we're going to inhale, curl your toes under and flex your feet. Squeeze here, and as you exhale, sigh it out and let it go. Inhale, we're going to do the entire both legs. So squeezing the calves, maybe pointing your toes, squeeze your glutes. Keep squeezing. Exhale, let it go and feel heavy into the mat. Next one's your palms and your arms. So inhale, make fists with your hands. Fire up your triceps, shrug your shoulders towards your ears, maybe squeezing your abs as well. Exhale, sigh it out and let it go. Last one we'll do is the face. So inhale, wrinkle your forehead, wrinkle your nose, squeeze your eyes. And exhale, let it go. Maybe doing a quick scan one more time of the body to see if you're holding tension anywhere else. And as you inhale, contract that muscle part and exhale and let it go. With every exhale, feels like our body is melting into the floor. You can slowly start to bring attention back to the body by wiggling your toes, your fingertips, making small movements, and then bringing those movements to be a little bit larger, making circles with your wrists and your ankles. Bringing the fingers to interlace behind your head, legs come together. We're going to stretch through the body, making it as long as possible. Inhale, and as you exhale, sigh it out and let it go. We'll go one more time. Inhale, reach the body as long as you can. Stretch it out through the toes and the fingers. Exhale, sigh it out and let it go. Keeping your left arm overhead, we're just going to roll onto the left side of the body. So your head is resting on your left bicep. Right hand presses into the floor. We're going to press ourselves up slowly back to a seated position. You can inhale, bring your arms overhead. Exhale, bring them down. I'd like to thank you for joining me for today's Flexibility and Mobility Fusion class. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you soon.